logical fallacy is something we all encounter in everyday life. This is when a person says something that appears to prove a point, but really it falls short. Sometimes they can be obviously wrong, and other times they can really fool you into believing that something isn't true. Never think that you should learn logical fallacies just so that you can prove everyone wrong. The main reason you should study logical fallacies is to make you a better listener when people try to fool you. Any irrational logic that you encounter in life falls into a category. We call these categories logical fallacies. By learning these fallacies, you can calmly listen as a person tries to trick you. As you are listening, you'll notice the fallacy they use is one you are already familiar with from your own study of them. This way you won't have to interrupt the other person just to tell him or her exactly what's wrong with what that person has just said. Instead, you can simply let them finish talking, all while you are fully familiar with what is wrong with what the person has said. This allows you to listen to other issues. You may agree with some of what the person says, or you may notice some emotional struggles in the other person. These are some of the benefits of being able to listen without needing to interrupt just for the sake of keeping things clear. A second benefit, though, of learning logical fallacies is that the type of fallacy a person chooses often tells you something about the motivation behind why the person is saying that. A special thank you goes to Michael Ramsden's Logic and Fallacies for all the videos in this series. Please download that lecture at bethinking.org. Moving the goalpost occurs when a person attacks your view in more than one different way. It works like this. You make a claim and you give a reason, some reasoning why your claim is true. Now your opponent will attack your reasoning, your argument. We'll call this attack A. Now you go into a chain of reasoning to show why your opponent's attack A fails. There's always steps and chains in logical reasoning. This leads to this, leads to this. Your opponent will be agreeing with you all along the way in this little process. Finally, you will reach your conclusion and show that your opponent's attack A is a failure. At that point, your component completely changes and completely forgets everything that's been being discussed and creates a new attack on your original point. And we'll call this attack B. So you go through the same dialogue as before, but this time you're debunking attack B. And when you do finally, you arrive at the point of showing him where attack B fails, he switches back to attack A, completely forgetting everything that was said there. Now, the temptation is to think that your opponent is just not that smart and can't realize what you've just been talking about. That's the temptation. But usually, most of the time, this type of reasoning, this type of fallacy is a clear indication that the opponent is simply not interested in the truth, but is arguing for some other motivation. That this is about making a fuss, or trolling you, or just trying to make you mad for some crazy reason, or just wanting to make a show, or be dramatic and draw attention, who knows, but that this person is clearly not interested in the truth. Now, for an example, it can get kind of complicated and lengthy, but any debate regarding the arguments for God's existence tends to become like this. So, for example, the argument for God from morality can actually be attacked or criticized in a host of totally unique ways. So, for example, you can attack it with the Euthyphro dilemma. You can attack it by saying that morality can be explained with evolution. You can attack it by saying that morality is just a social contract. You can attack it by saying that morality can be based on reason and science. Or the most popular is you can attack it by saying, well, atheists can be moral too. All of those can be places where you smooth the goalpost, where suddenly the touchdown is in a totally new location, right when you got to the goal line. So that's the idea, and I hope it makes sense, and I hope this helps you avoid conversations that seem like they're important, and it seems like you're getting somewhere, and it seems like the person is agreeing with you, but in reality, it's just a waste of everyone's time.